Hello? Yep. Dude, what do you mean? No, MetaZoo's not dead. You're an idiot, dude. MetaZoo is not. Just because he posted that does not mean it's over. Okay? He says that all the time. This is not the first time that Discord's been dislocated. Okay? It's fine. Don't worry. MetaZoo's not dead. Peace. I'll see you later. Hello? Yeah, yeah. Okay. To be honest, fuck that Mike guy, man. Where's my money, man? Fuck him. He doesn't even understand what's going. Dude, screw that guy. He took all my cash. Man, he just ran away like that. Fuck him. Okay. Yeah, man. Hey, do you have any MetaZoo boxes, dude? Okay, look. Do you need any? Okay, yeah, dude, bro. I'll sell them to you, dude. $15, 20, $2. How about I give you 50 boxes of MetaZoo for $2 each? Okay, like $100 for 50 boxes. What do you want? Come on, man. I'll throw in a playmat. Okay, you get a playmat too. You cool with that? Yeah, man. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know this is not a real phone, man. Fuck, man. I spent all my money on MetaZoo, okay? Bro, I know. Yeah, yeah, I know. Bro, yeah, it's real, man. Super real now. Yeah, MetaZoo's dead. My bad. I was wrong. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mark from SolarGames, and today we're going to talk about MetaZoo Part 2. So, like I told you guys on my Discord, after this shit dropped, I was like, we got days of content to farm. And the funny thing is, I didn't even have to do any more research, okay? Because everybody on my comment section seems to be like MetaZoo experts out there with a ton of information on how exactly and what's happening with this game. So yeah, let's start addressing some of this. So before I start addressing any specific comments or whatever, I just want to say, like, man, I knew I was gonna get hate, but then I didn't understand and I didn't actually know how many of the MetaZoo people would just come to my channel and start like talking. And of course, I got other people who are my followers who are like kind of have actually sensibility and understanding of how games work and how collectibility works and all this other pieces. So seems to mellow out pretty well. But I think one thing that was apparent to me was there are a lot of these like some of the posters. It felt really weird because I mean, I think my question to the people who are very strongly for MetaZoo and against my video or against like everyone talking shit about MetaZoo now, it's true. We are kicking MetaZoo while it's down, but there's a reason why we're kicking them, and there's a reason why MetaZoo is down. Hey, and none of that is my fault, okay? But what are you doing white knighting for a game that scammed you? Now, look, like if you're a distributor and you're white knighting from MetaZoo, what the fuck are you doing? You're not getting paid. If you're a content creator, right, and you're not like basically scamming other people with selling MetaZoo boxes, what are you doing white knighting for MetaZoo? They're not helping you, right? From what I see out there on the content creator landscape, everyone's getting hate on by MetaZoo. But they don't really care about content creators. They care about content creators that basically push the price of the game. They don't care about content creators that actually make content about the game, right? So who are these white knights? If you're just a player, you're just a random MetaZoo fan. Let me tell you what's the reality, okay? Mike doesn't need you to white knight for him, okay? He has his house, 4 houses, 3 wives, and 2 Lamborghinis, okay? Paid by you. So you don't need to come out and white knight him. He's not even here at all. He doesn't need your defense. He's gone, dude. So that part just doesn't understand. I don't understand it at all. Like, what are they doing? Why are you defending Mike? Why are you defending the game? If the game is so great, it defends itself. It doesn't need you. Okay. But specifically, I do want to address one comment that was, pretty common in the anti-Mark MetaZoo fan base of my comment section. So let's talk about it, right? Mark, look, you didn't even do any research for the game. How can you talk about it? What makes you the expert of this game? Okay, so sometimes when I make videos like this, right? I know it's like a one take thing, and I'm not the most scripted guy. I'm not like, oh, today on the news. I'm not reading a prompter, right? It may look like the guy from Aliens. Okay, Aliens, right? But the amount of research I actually do in the background, um, let's just say this: like a lot of people don't understand how these videos get made. So it is what it is. Hey, look, I may not get everything right, and honestly, like I don't have time to go get as deep as what I've been doing with Magic or with Grand Archive. Of course, because it's not a game I care about. However, to say that I did zero research, well, I mean, that's probably just not true. So, first, let's talk about this comment, okay? First thing is this. I've realized a long time ago, and we've talked about this on my videos, many videos before too, but there's no amount of justification, research, anything that will make you, the people who think I'm not doing proper research, happy. Because the reality is, you came here with a prejudice about what my content is going to be about, and I probably started the content with a prejudice about what MetaZoo is about. So that's, there's no amount of research I can do that will make everyone happy. So it doesn't fucking matter. I don't really care how you feel about it. It's just what it is. Okay. Number two, um, to say that I've done no research is also just completely false. I've of course done a ton of research after this whole fall of MetaZoo thing, right? There's not a lot of information on the internet, to be honest. And hey, man, the Discord's deleted. The slash Reddit MetaZoo Reddit r slash MetaZoo is a private Reddit. Why? What are you hiding, right? I can't even get in there. So, and I'm just too lazy to request and go read all that stuff. So I had to go dig up MetaZoo posts and Mike Waddell letters from like Instagram. Okay, so I did some research. Okay, so and then of course I'm looking at pricing just like how I've always done. And in fact, I have been looking at pricing of MetaZoo. Some things that you guys don't know is that even 4 years ago, when MetaZoo first came out, I was one of the first people to look at it and say, hey, is this something that I want to put money into? Just like every TCG that comes out, I look at it, or my friends tell me about it, or some owners of TCG sometimes reach out to me directly and say, hey, do you want to review our game, etc. Right? So this happens all the time. I am researching some I can't say that I've researched everything. I totally miss One Piece, to be honest, right? But to say I'm not doing any research is kind of like, that's just blatantly not true. So 4 years ago, I did look at MetaZoo. I determined for myself back then that this game is not worth my time. It's not worth my money. And I know like I respect Rudy. To be honest, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you must hate Rudy. I don't hate Rudy. I think Rudy is just Rudy. Rudy is just another human being. He has his fallacies. He's great in some places and he sucks in other places, right? MetaZoo is a thing I don't like about what Rudy did. I respect Rudy on his opinions of magic and generally market and collectability, right? But MetaZoo, he's wrong. Sorcery, he's probably wrong. We'll talk about that in a different video, okay? And so when MetaZoo came out, I did do the research. I determined for myself, it's not a game I want to invest in. It's not a game I'm interested in. It's not a game that I even want to put any money down. So that's where I landed, and that's why I have, to this day, basically no items in MetaZoo. Now, I have some Rudy cards, whatever, because, well, I kind of got forced into it by the 6.9 kits, right? So there's that. But anyways, to satisfy and meet the requirements of my YouTube commenters, okay, here's some research for you. Number one, let's talk about MetaZoo Nightfall and this general push for greed. And this is cool because now I can finally talk about some of this data, and maybe the other people who are watching my channel who actually don't know this data can follow along and make your own decisions, right? At first, I kind of realized MetaZoo was problematic is when, like on this channel, we talked about WotC, Wizard of the Coast, raising prices. We've talked about other companies doing the same thing. And it's like a big deal whenever they raise prices, right? So Wizard of the Coast raising prices like 3 or 4 times over the last 4 years was a big deal. Guess how many times MetaZoo raised prices in the first year of the game release? 3. So of course, Kickstarter boxes were 80. This is normal, right? So when Kickstarter happens, usually they're going to be at a very preferential price for the Kickstarter, and then when the like unlimited alter or whatever edition comes out later, not the non-Kickstarter version, usually the box prices are going to be a little higher, just to basically say, hey, like here's the MSRP, but we want to, we want to lower it for you for Kickstarter. So there's a little bit of that, right? Now, most of the time though, for Kickstarter, what they will do is they'll say the MSRP is say $100, but for Kickstarter, if you buy early, we're going to give it to you for 80. Now, effectively that is 80, but it's also saying you're getting a discount because you're joining us early. So totally get that, right? Unfortunately for MetaZoo, the Kickstarter price was 80 for the base box, right? And of course, if you buy more, you get a better volume discount type of thing. Pretty standard, right? Immediately first set, they raised the price to $100 MSRP. Again, all these prices I'm saying are MSRP. Specifically, what price was charged at release, I don't remember. Okay, and also I probably didn't have an opportunity to go buy it, so it doesn't matter to me. Okay, and then of course, the second set, Nightfall, comes out, and MSRP is now suddenly $140 per booster box. Like, what happened? You know, did your game grow so big between like Kickstarter and the same set reprint and the second set that you have to raise your boxes by 40%? Now, I understand the whole like dump market, and here's what happened. This is where Rudy didn't help the game, right? Rudy being involved with MetaZoo meant that a lot of boxes were in circulation. And because Rudy is pumping the thing, and it makes all the boxes kind of rise. And of course, Rudy gets a payout for all the work he did. But so does all the other scalpers who are selling to each other. And this is the issue. The game isn't actually like amazing, right? And sometimes, look, the game could be amazing, but you have to build the community. It doesn't just happen overnight. So the fact that they got like fame too quickly, it went to their heads. And MetaZoo became greedy right off the bat and said, okay, well, we sold out, Cryptic Nation, so we should charge more for Nightfall, of course. And so it was $140 MSRP. What that does, though, is this like crazy increase in valuation very early on for a game is always a red herring, or sorry, it's a red flag. You should always be careful whenever a game does this, that like, hey man, why is there no stability in the market? That's not a good thing, whether it goes up or down, of course. But in general, if they're going up, there's also more to fall. So you can imagine, right? If they fuck up anything, $140 can become $50, and it's way worse than if $100 or $80 becomes $50, right? So you can see that's the problem. Secondly, there were, especially with Nightfall, there were a lot of issues between how the boxes were supposed to be positioned for LGSs and for content creators, and there was like switcheroos and like basically rug pulls even back then. And we can of course say this is just like MetaZoo's strategy change of how they want to promote the game. But part of this could just be because honestly they're not a mature company, or it could be because, well, guess what? This company is just looking for the best way to promote their game to earn more money. It's a greed thing, right? It's not about building the game. It's just about greed. And I'll come back to this point later too, that MetaZoo's core failure is that it tried to earn money first and not build a better product first. And this is really going to hit them, in the head way, 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 way later. So now, since we're talking about box prices, I do want to ask this question to other MetaZoo fanboys, right? If MetaZoo is such a great game and tons of people want to play it, tell me this: why does every single set fall by 20%, or sorry, fall by 80% to 20% of its value very quickly, right? And I know right now, of course, it's not fair. All the prices, of course, tanked because MetaZoo literally said we're shutting down the game, right? But I could also argue, hey, if the game is really good, we're shutting it down, should increase the price because there's no more print runs, right? So maybe it is fair. But still, even if you look at any MetaZoo product, overall, the box prices from release goes down. And it does not even go back to MSRP. That's a big problem, right? And so tell me, if the game is so great and we're growing the player base and all this stuff, why does every single set go down? Does it have a Yu-Gi-Oh problem where it's all about power creep, meaning the cards in the previous set don't matter because the next set, basically invalidates every card there? Does it have a MTG problem that there's just way too much product printed and there's not enough players? Does it have a collectability issue where the cards are not that great, or the pull rates suck, or whatever? I don't know. Or the pull rates are too good. So if everything is rare, nothing is rare, right? That's what I want to know, right? And the thing is this, right? Look, all this stuff, it's not like the January 29th thing, announcement did anything. All of this price drop and all these pricing issues have been here for years. I mean, if you dig up in the YouTube archives, anywhere else, you'll see people, content creators everywhere, talking about MetaZoo prices. Oh, UFO crashing to zero, Seance being mappable has problems, right? None of that was caused by this announcement. That was just shady every single set. It's pretty normal for a new card game to have problems within the first year or so, or 2 years or 3 years, right? So Magic had Chronicles, that era. Homelands, Alliances, that era. Grand Archive had the whole Fractured Crown fiasco, right? Which burned a lot of LGSs, and a lot of LGSs actually from Fractured Crown dropped Grand Archive as a game. And that's sad, but you can see the response from Weeps of the Shore to go and actually actively spend money, time, effort to go fix that problem, right? And then again, fix it directly for the next set. I can tell you right now, Alchemical Revolution is not the same as Fractured Crown at all. If you're judging it based on Fractured Crown, you're wrong, period. Sorry, MetaZoo video, not Grand. I start talking and we just want to talk about Grand Archive. What a great game. Um, this whole price falling thing has been a problem, right? So if you're an LGS, tell me, how do you have any stability with this game at all? Basically, you're saying like I go to my distributor, buy MetaZoo for let's say $100 because MSRP is supposed to be $140, and then I turn around and this box goes from 100, whatever, which is what I paid at LG at distribution, to 80 to not to 70 to 50 to 40. Yeah, of course LGS drops this game. Of course. And of course, because all of the basic player base for MetaZoo is just a bunch of like, collectors. The people who are buying MetaZoo is just a bunch of collectors. There's nobody playing the game at the LGS. There's no community to grow around this thing. There's no pack opening because of that. It's just one dude opening a ton of packs. That's not going to save the world. You know what I mean? And that that's why a bunch of LGSs dropped MetaZoo. It was just such an unstable product. They don't need products that either shoots to the moon or falls to the to the fucking like Earth's core. They need stability. And so yes, Magic is boring. Magic's margins suck. But you know what Magic has? In general, stability. Now it's not perfect, right? But Magic boxes aren't falling like, well, I say this and then I think about Dominator Remaster and yeah, fuck Wizards, right? So who knows? But yes, in general, Magic products are fine. And look, if Magic product sucks, you open the box, sell the singles, it's overall pretty okay, right? So if you're an LGS, you figure out ways to work with Magic and work around the whole Wizard problem, and you can still make a decent living. With MetaZoo, I'm not so sure. And plus, they don't have the player base to go support this game at all yet, and that's the problem. And the other problem, right, with MetaZoo was the fact that it didn't really have anything that's appealing for me as an adult. So I know this doesn't apply to everyone. It's really just purely my opinion. But look, MetaZoo, for what it's worth, and I call it what it is, it's just a knockoff of Pokemon. And to be honest, Pokemon's gameplay to me sucks. And I did play Pokemon when I was 10. I basically quit playing Pokemon when I was 12 because I realized Magic the Gathering was a much more superior game even back then. You could tell that it was much more complex and was interesting. And yeah, Pokemon just didn't have that for me personally, right? God damn, like I remember back in this must have been like 1998. I remember there was like a store near my school called Dave's Dugout. And for you guys who are in the Bay Area, you know what I'm talking about. Dave's Dugout. They sold baseball cards, right? And of course they sold Pokemon cards. That's where I got my Pokemon cards. But they also had this like giant Magic collection. And this is not when I cared about Magic. So had I known about Magic back then, dude, I fucking like would have bought everything. But I didn't really know Magic as it would be as big as it was. I swear there was like a Black Lotus that they had on the wall. And I think they were just asking for like what, $500 for it was a unlimited, I think, white border Black Lotus. I don't remember what condition, but they were like asking for $500. Gosh, damn, dude, I wish I spent money to buy that Black Lotus instead of buying like packs of Pokemon cards. You know what I should have done? I should have traded my Venusaur and a bunch of other cards for that Black Lotus. See, all the mistakes I made when I was a kid. Yeah. So for me, I shifted into Magic because it was much more interesting of a game than Pokemon, and that's what I think about MetaZoo. When I look at MetaZoo as a game, I just think it's like kind of okay, right? And it's too silly. A lot of this stuff, I think one of my Patreon patrons mentioned on the Discord just today was like, for some of the cards in MetaZoo, you have to like wear a costume to go play. This is like the pirate ship or ghost ship thing. And yeah, like MetaZoo in a lot of weird ways also feel like an unset from Magic, right? Where it's like kind of silly, but you can't have that silliness and this like weird, I don't know, like adult humor type of thing, and then combine that with like serious gameplay. And that's where I just I just don't care. I just don't trust it. And really at the core, what does MetaZoo really care about, right? And this goes back to my point earlier about content creators and stuff like that. They just care about money. It's all about the money, right? Whereas a lot of games are out there, like Grand Archive is a perfect example of this, right? So Grand Archive, obviously, dude, any TCGs, right? You know what you're doing. You're basically turning paper into money. You're printing money effectively, okay? Now, to what degree, what's your margin, etc. that's all for debate. That's all up to like, how much your print runs cost, how much volume you're doing, how much you can actually sell, etc. But effectively, you're printing money. You've been licensed to do this. And guess what? You're not just printing money, you're printing gotcha money. Imagine like you go and try to buy money, but you can't just change a $20 bill for a $20 bill. You have to change $20 bill for a pack, okay? A booster pack, if you will. And you open it and you could get $100, $20, or $5, or maybe sometimes $1, right? That's what TCGs are. Okay, like, I mean, let's just put it out there. Now, how does Grand Archive differ from other card games that I've seen, right? As a new card game, what I see is passion for the game. There's a lot of really cool things that Grand Archive has done to put the money that they're kind of earning back into the community. I mean, the LGS support for Grand Archive is amazing. Now, is it like crazy good? Yes, it is crazy good. They're always thinking of new ways to like get demo decks into LGS's hand, like learn and play, promos, etc. And look, they're learning, right? They're a small company, not a lot of people, but they're putting their like they're putting their money where they care, right? All this money that they're earning, what they can, they put into tournaments, organize play, put on big events for Grand Archive players. Honestly, some of these event tickets are really cheap. You can, for most Grand Archive events, you just show up, that's free. If you want to play in the main events or whatever, I mean, it's like $60, right? And it's like basically a giant event. You sit down, you already get a playmat. Everybody who shows up gets a playmat, okay? And it's not like, okay, so for the people who don't know, Magic playmats and MetaZoo playmats, MetaZoo playmats are a joke, are like super thin, right? And Grand Archive playmats are super thick and they're stitched. And if you've ever bought playmats, you know the stitched thick playmats are worth a lot of money. It's a cost thing, right? Obviously, if you make a mass, you can save on money, etc. But they're not cheaper. This also just tells you how cheap other games are making their playmats. Again, the thick playmat's not for everyone, but again, the fact that they did it is something, right? It means something. But MetaZoo, all they care about is money from the beginning to the end. Like, I mean, look, I know a lot of people are like, well, but MetaZoo throws on 250K tournaments, right? I get it. But if you look at it from a different perspective, what is that 250K tournament telling people? It's just marketing. It's advertising that, hey, this game is really worth your money because look, we can throw on these events. We must be making a lot of money. You should take our boxes and try to flip it because look, you too can make a lot of money trying to sell MetaZoo. And that's the kind of perception they're trying to give to their players. And how do I know this? Well, just look at some of the content creators that create content for MetaZoo, right? And I don't mean the content creators who are like, oh, this card went up 40%, this card is down, whatever. Look at the content creators that get promoted by MetaZoo and look at the feedback from the content creators that don't get promoted and look at why. I recently, just today, I was doing a little bit more research. I looked into a content creator named EpicTube HD. For you MetaZoo people, you probably know who this is. And he had a video called "I'm Done." That was posted about a month ago, maybe longer. Basically saying that he's not going to do any more content for MetaZoo. He's probably just kind of exiting the game. Now, he was a collector, not a player, but he did start dabbling into the whole play space because he felt like that's the way that he would be fully engaged with the game. Now, why did he quit the game? Because it became very clear between all the DMs, which he didn't share all the details, but between all the DMs and what content gets pushed by MetaZoo, it was clear to him that the company only cares about money. If you're like, for example, if he makes a stream opening products, whatever, talking about MetaZoo, talking about the cards or artwork, etc., they don't really care. But if you do a whatnot stream where you're selling cards and showing people what kind of crazy pulls you get and how much money it's worth, that's all being promoted. What does that say about a company when they promote all of the financial marketplace type of things, but don't promote people who are actually trying to build the core audience, right? Whereas if you look at Grand Archive, super refreshing. A lot of the content that gets promoted are going to be community-based things, artwork, artist things, right? Discussions about meta, discussions about gameplay. And that's totally super different between MetaZoo and Grand Archive or any other. Like, look at even Magic. Magic, tons of the content is about Magic adjacent things, the storyline, right? Or what cards are good, meta discussions, like building commander decks, this kind of stuff gets promoted by Wizard of the Coast. So that's the difference. And basically, if you think about it, Mike didn't really care about the content creators. Imagine how many people who built their channel or put everything they have behind MetaZoo. For him to end the company like this and not give these guys a heads up is a big problem, right? No respect. And the thing is, like, again, I said it in the last video, I'll say it again here. I have zero respect for people who, when they see a problem, they just kind of give up. And I see Mike doing that. I see Mike saying, kind of throwing his hands up and saying, oh, we fucked up here, we fucked up here, we fucked up here. Fuck it, I'm out. Right? Chapter 7 bankruptcy, let's go. That's it. So to end all this stuff, obviously, it is what it is. I kind of now want to wash my brain of MetaZoo. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to discuss it anymore. It's so stupid. But I'll say this, man, Mike, if you actually have any sense of like honesty, I don't know, have a heart, go pay your people, man. Go pay your artists, go pay your players, right? The fact that a bunch of the tournament winners who were supposed to be paid like 2 days ago or whatever didn't actually get paid, that's a big problem. Mike, go pay your players. If you promise this because they won a tournament, go pay them out for the prize that they won, okay? Pay your distributors, pay your printers, pay your collaborators, all the people, pay them up, okay? It sucks, you fucked up, your company fucked up, whatever. Pay the people, exit gracefully, move on, okay? Honestly, at this point, who's going to buy another Mike Waddell game, to be honest, right? So what can we learn, right? Let's turn this video a little positive. I don't like how I ended the video yesterday. What can we learn? I think at the core, for everyone else who's sticking around, who like TCGs, whether you're a player, collector, whatever it is that you do you, bro. It's really just that. A good TCG should have playability. Like the gameplay is fun. I think like Mark Rosewater said this a while back in a video, or it was the GDC talk about like passion, right? He basically said like if you finish a game of whatever, let's say your friend invites you to play a game and you play one game and you ask them like, or they ask you, hey, do you want to play a second game? And you're like, not really, or it's okay. That's not good enough. That's not a good game, right? You want players that will say, yes, absolutely, I want to play another game. I felt that way with Grand Archive, right? Even if they say, I don't fucking want to play this game, that's also okay. Because what that's telling me is that people are passionate about the game in one way or another. If they're just kind of like, it's okay, or they're like, I don't really want to play again, it was fine, that's not a good sign. And unfortunately, I feel like MetaZoo is in that field, right? The gameplay is just kind of like, and I think a lot of people were playing the game for the crazy cash money tournaments. It's the reality of it. The other part of this too is that a card game should have really, really strong collectability, right? So if you look at, Magic the Gathering, which basically shoehorned in collectability due to, some of the older cards being on the reserve list, being super rare, never being printed again, etc. And also combo that with the fact that those cards are actually really good, right? Power Nines, Black Lotus, you got your Moxes, you got like all sorts of crazy stuff on the reserve list. That makes it collectible. Grand Archive does it differently. Grand Archive says, hey, you know what? We think every player should have access to all the cards. But to make the collectors happy, we will print cards that are really chased and sought after by the collectors. And it's not just like something they put on their wall and hang it up at home. We want to reward them for collecting these cards. So they have competitions for collectors. No joke. It's like, we call it whale wars, right? Basically, like imagine collectors bringing cases of slabs and whatever and saying like, oh, here's my 50 card collection, right? You have to piece a collection together and you earn points based on your collection. And whoever's number one, guess what? You get trophies, you get prizes, you get money. It's crazy. That's what Grand Archive does. Look over, right? This is the thing. Like a TCG that's successful should have all of these things. One Piece has the same thing. One Piece has cards that you can play, and of course, super collectible cards, right? You got to have these two things. So, looking forward, look at all the games, right? Before you jump into any sort of game, make sure that they have at least one of these things. Of course, on the collectability side, games like Pokemon, as an example, has really strong IP power. So collectability is much easier when you have strong IP power, right? And then other games like, let's talk about Flesh and Blood, has really interesting gameplay. It's something very different, like that's fast paced, that's interesting, that makes you think about card games in a different way. That's also really cool. Like it's a unique niche for that gameplay. These are things I look for in card games that will succeed again long term, not short term. Short term, all companies will make mistakes, right? It happens. This is very common. It's how they fix those mistakes and what they do long term that matters for the longevity of the game. Mike didn't have this. And so, of course, MetaZoo is now dead. And guess what? With that, I'm out. We're never going to talk about MetaZoo again. Yay. Great. Mark from SolarGames. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Stay classy.